Hey folks, it's Dave. I'm still not in this one either, so that's 2 for 2. I asked Nick about it, and he said that the studio was at capacity, and Eric said that my not being there was a vibe thing. So I'm just choosing to believe them and not look any further into it. But here's a quick recap if you skipped episode 1, which, to be fair, I also did. But Randall walked through how automation reshapes the whole business, not just the machine. PK showed how utilization and stable processes turned unused spindle time into output. Feed the beast. Got it. Today's the other half. Nick and Eric are sitting down with Forrest on engineering and programming. They're also talking with Scott on quality and systems. Forrest's whole point is standardization. If the process isn't predictable and repeatable, automation falls apart fast. Scott closes the loop on inspection and tolerances because speed means nothing if you can't trust the parts coming out. Enjoy this episode. I'll be sitting at Tim Hortons with a nice hot coffee because apparently I've got some free time. Thanks, everyone.
Well, Nick, I think that was such a cool and important exercise, right? We talked to operations, we've talked to production, and now it's like, let's bring in Forrest. He is Advanced Machine Fabrication's Director of Engineering and Programming, because you and I both know what a vital role that plays in making all of this possible.
Yeah, these guys are so important and so necessary, and they're so challenging to deal with because they're like asking the hardest questions that you're like, oh gosh, I knew someone was going to go there. I knew someone was going to ask us like chapter 50 of the calculus book that I never got to. So that's Forrest, and love the guy and excited to introduce him. So Forrest, welcome.
Yeah, welcome, Forrest. And I just want to open with a story that kind of backs up what Nick was saying. If you recall, when we were talking to you about machine tool monitoring, you went pretty deep in the weeds on us sales guys. We had to like remote in the guys that actually built the software to get you the answers you need. So I'm with Nick. Welcome, Forrest. Can't wait to talk to you this morning.
I'll give some details to that story. So we're at lunch together because we had lunch before we had our meeting, and then we drove to. That's how we did it, right? We had lunch and then we drove and
then
did
we went over to the.
And so, like, between lunch and arriving, it was only about 10 minutes away. I get on the phone and I was like, Cameron, who's like he's our super technical guy. I was like, this dude's going to ask a few questions that I'm not going to know how to answer. So can you jump in the call? So welcome, Forrest.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah, great to have you on. And, same with Randall and PK. Why don't you start by just telling us a little bit about yourself and how you got into this crazy business?
Well, when I first started, I was welding, and then I jumped over onto some machines and realized that I could hit a button and have it do and make the part that I wanted rather than having to blacksmith and be hot and burnt and all of that. So I jumped into CNC machining head first and have never looked back. So that's kind of how my story started on getting into the machining industry. So
love it, man.
That's great. That's great. So Director of Engineering and Programming, that's the official title?
Yes, and underneath me, I have the quoting and estimating team. I have the quality planning, CMM programming, and all of the CNC programming. So we kind of lump all that together. And one of the good things we did here years ago, probably about 7, 8 years ago, is we put quality planning and the CNC programming in the same office. So as we're doing that quality plan on how we're going to check the parts and figure out how to inspect them, we were programming them at the same time so those guys could bounce and feed off of each other. And if we need to make a CMM fixture for a specific part or do something like that, then they're communicating and collaborating it. So when the PK and Randall get those parts, they're ready to go. Once they hit the floor, they're ready to rock, and there's no looking back. So
I love that. We do Q Rocks here where, no matter what business unit you're in, just like that, you've got all the stakeholders in the same room. So when it moves to the next point, we have a term for it, but basically you're not sending something half finished downstream. You know what I mean?
Or, you got someone who's a cubicle away from a different function of the business, and we use high-speed voice technology to solve problems quickly, which is just talking to the person next to you instead of waiting for someone to get an email that's stuck in their queue. And
Yeah.
when we say QROC, we say quick response office cell. So you've got all these stakeholders that have maybe a different function, but they're all sitting together so that we can respond quickly to our customers.
Yep.
So,
Yeah.
Forrest, you gave a pretty long list of some pretty important people and departments that kind of fall under your umbrella. Do you have a 32-hour day and the rest of us just have 24? I'm curious what a day in the life of Forrest looks like, because that's a lot of responsibility, sir.
What I have is I have a really good team underneath me that works well with not a ton of micromanaging or direction. I can pretty well give them a task, and then I know and I trust that my team is going to go get that done. And so it's just high level managing at that point in time. Just here, I need you working on this, you working on this, and let them go to work. And I'll come back and look at the end result and approve or disapprove or kind of nudge them while they're halfway through and say, well, I'd probably go this way and get them to go that way. So it works out pretty well. And being that the estimating team is in there with the CMM programmers also, we know how long it's gonna take to make parts. We know where to put our parts on what machines, but sometimes it's good to have one of my estimators turn them CNC guy and be like, "Hey, how would you hold this part on the final operation?" And be able to give
Hmm.
that input and be like, "Do we have gauges to check this thing?" And like I said, it's everybody in the same office right there working together as a team and helping each other out. So it's really a team sport over there in our department with my guys. So
I love that. And
Love it.
before kind of we get into your journey, before, during, and after the implementation of automation at Advanced Machine and Fabricating, there's something I really want to ask you. So PK talked about how important part selection was, right? But every shop I've ever been in over my career in manufacturing, you constantly hear about the engineering team, right? Programming and designing for manufacturability. And I
Hmm.
think that when we're looking at taking that one step further into manufacturing automatically, like, how is that a challenge, or are you doing things differently now with these? PK's selected the parts he thinks are great for producing automatically. How is that influencing how you're engineering, how you're programming?
well, there's I'm sure you guys talk about this a lot, but the main things that go into automation are tooling, fixturing, material, and the program. And those are the
Hmm.
four main components you've got to have. So if you're cutting a bunch of Inconel or Monel and a hard materials, really tight tolerance like PK's talked about, turning that loose, you have to have your tool breakage detection and all the tool life and tool studies done before you can just turn that loose all the time. So if I've got a bunch of aluminum parts with, plus or minus 10 or plus or minus 5, I know I can rip those loose a lot better. And then part of the selection is also looking at cycle time and quantities. So if I'm only going to get a 5-piece order in there, 10-minute cycle times, I'm going to put those on another machine and not try to automate that because it's going to take longer for Pete to get to and from shuffling pallets than it is to actually run the cycle time on those parts. So we
Hmm.
try to look for a target parts that we know that can run, and we have good tool studies on them. And standardization is all I can really. That's what I would want to pound home to anybody listening out there is standardization as much as possible. Standardize your tool packages, standardize your fixturing. If I can use the same size material on 12 different parts on a part family, then that's going to be great to go in there, even though it's a high mix, low volume. You're standardized, you're going on your dovetails or your 0 point system, and you can really get a lot of throughput doing that kind of stuff. And um, that's standardization. I can't say it enough.
Yeah, and we try. I mean, we try in every episode to say it, but what's cool about this one is we're saying that same thing through all these different lenses. Randall was talking about standards, PK was talking about standards, you're talking about standards, but yours are often like standards in code or standards with the tool itself or standards with the fixtures itself, and it's so important to figure out, okay, like where can we find these common denominators and then just standardize across it. How was it before though? Like before Pistol Pete, where you kind of like, all right, I got a program that works for this part, and we'll just toss it up there and we'll have, this guy run this job at this time because he's done it before. And maybe, was it true, or is it fair to say that you didn't think as much about standardization prior to the automation?
Yeah, we didn't try to standardize as much. We looked at more individual parts, not family groups. How can I
Mm-hmm.
do more things the same? Um, really didn't have a good grasp on tool studies and understanding how that affects and using like machines with redundant tools. And, we kind of really stepped up our game when we had to go into the FASTEM system or this automated cell and let Pete kind of direct traffic. It
Mm.
was PK was more hands-on. This job goes on this machine on this day and was really having to manage that hard. Now you can say these 10 jobs are going to go in automation and we're going to just let it pick which one it wants to run because I have standardized tools in there and it doesn't matter which part it wants. It's going to grab one. If a tool
Yeah,
is broken and it hits the tool broken detection and it detects it, it'll shuttle that paddle out, look for what tools it does have that it can run, and it'll grab the next part and start running something completely different because we've got it set up that way. So,
that's so cool.
If you're looking to increase your spindle uptime without adding any headcount, check out the Hennig workflow automation system. I've seen it. I love it. It's a compact, automated pallet delivery solution that lets you work ahead of your machine so your shop never stops. You can load up to 40 pallets with material, fixtures, programs, and just let the workflow cook. A Hennig workflow is designed for high mix machining, works with a wide range of machines, and even with a 125-pound payload on top of a 300-millimeter pallet, yet still takes up less space than most competitors' pallet automation system. That means more production, fewer manual changeovers, really just a practical path to high profit, lights out machining. Learn more about Hennig workflow by visiting hennigworldwide.com/workflow.
Let's go real technical because you're the real technical one here on the group. And tell us exactly how Pistol Pete thinks. I mean, he is not a I am robot, I do this type guy. I mean, Pistol Pete's a smart guy. And you were just describing a little bit of what you shared when we had that tour, but he's making decisions that are really impressive for automation. Can you explain kind of like how that whole system, the FASTEM system works, and kind of just break it down for us as you talked about those categories: programs, tools, fixtures, material?
yeah, so when I load a part into our system, the first thing I have to do is tell it what fixture that part goes on. So I create fixture and then I create the part level. So I do all the creating of that, and then PK feeds it with the work orders and tells it when to run.
Mm,
And so what Pete's looking for is he's looking for a pallet with that fixture on it first. Do I have something I can? Is there material on this pallet? Yes. And then it's flashing the tool magazines on both those machines to see if it has enough tool life to make that part. And then it's going to send it in there. So what that does for us is say we have 250 minutes of cut time on a 5 fluid end mill that's cutting, say, titanium, or 6 flute cutting titanium. It's going to look in the machine and see how much tool life it has left. So if I've got a program that needs 100 minutes of cut time left, it'll run 2 of those parts on a 250-minute tool. And now it's like, okay, I only have 50 minutes left on this tool. Is there a part in the system right now that has less than 50 minutes? Yep, there's one that has 40. We're going to run it next on, say, first operation. And it's juggling, do I have the fixture in there? And then do I have enough tool life in that machine? So it might shuttle part X, op 1, op 2, and then it goes to part Y, op 3, or whatever is loaded in there so that it can get the best utilization out of your tools and tool life and the best on your schedule. Because you're also looking at when PK put those orders in there, what's due and what day and what time, and it's going to try to prioritize due date and get all of that done. So it's really optimizes everything from tools to due dates and all of that all combined. So
That is so cool. I can't even
that is
like
so
I
freaking
can't
cool,
even
man.
I couldn't do that with my Pistol Pete is smarter than Eric Nekich, and I want the world to know, chisel that in stone. So
No, it's just crazy how it goes through. Like, and that's a testament to the software too. People think like there's so many misconceptions about what automation is capable of, and of course you did just like plug it in and 10 minutes later it's doing all of that. You need guys like Forrest to like train it.
So obviously, Forrest, talking about implementing automation, obviously you guys just flipped a switch and all of that awesomeness started, right?
No way. No way. So you run into your bottlenecks, right? You got to go and pinch point it out. So that's why I was saying standardization, because if I want to put parts in there, I've got to have fixtures to load those parts. And you got 10 jobs that need to run, and you got to have fixtures for all those jobs. And then you got to start with redundant fixturing and making sure that I can have 3 fixtures in there. That way guys can load parts up, go home, and then it'll run through the night. Or have 10 fixtures of 10 different parts loaded, which starts to put Randall in a bottleneck because he's got to order all this material and have it all stacked out there. And then PK's got to have room to put all the material out there and stage it all. So it just keeps on flowing back up to the next thing and the next thing.
Yeah, man, just quite the equation. And when we were there, it was like, hey, Forrest, what all falls under your domain? And you're like, oh, pretty much anything that has anything to do with code. And so there's a
Yeah.
lot of like programming and coding and like math and figuring out exactly how it should work. But I mean, you're programming, but you're also designing these fixtures too, right? You or your team.
Yes.
So you're wearing a few hats: programming machines, designing fixtures, planning some of the tooling strategies too, with all this redundancy on redundant fixtures, redundant tooling. What would you say your biggest challenge is, like the thing that keeps you up at night and stresses you out, as you guys are running a pretty impressive, pretty automated shop?
PK telling me he wants more. We need more parts. We need more fixtures. We need more come on. We need more programs. You're just feeding the beat.
I love that guy. Yep. That's great.
Who gives you more headaches, Pistol Pete or PK?
Pete tries to make life easier. PK challenges us to feed him more. He's hungry.
So
I
I'll tell
love
you
it.
this. That's a phenomenal segue, I think, into, what has this journey unlocked for you, Forrest, professionally, personally, you know?
Personally, it's I've made some brothers. With
Oh,
PK and
man.
Randall and Scott. We're like a family up here. We're in the trenches every day, battling to try to do better for the company, better for everybody's families out on the floor and in the offices alike, and just trying to make things better for everybody. So I've got the extended family. Just hit my work anniversary of 11 years being at this company, and
Congratulations.
we did a lot of good things through the years together, and that's probably my personal thing. Um, Professionally, just learning and be able to learn all the time. You get automation and you learn more about the tooling and the tool paths, and we got a new ERP system, so I had to learn all of that. If you're not moving with the technology in this industry, you're not moving. You're going backwards. You're just not going to go anywhere. So I'm always trying to learn new things, like
Mhm.
mainly softwares, but there's hardware and all kinds of techniques. And you know what you know. So get out there and meet other people, talk to other people in the industry, and you will continue to grow and get better all the time.
Man, that's
Man, that is so
phenomenal,
good.
Forrest. I can't thank you enough for your time. So cool to hear your perspective, and I think it's something that we probably haven't captured enough on this podcast, right? Like the engineering, the programming aspect of the automation journey. So really
Yeah.
valuable input.
Before you go, can you give us your quick rating on like your level of chaos and stress and turmoil before all the automation was implemented, and then compare
Yeah,
it to now?
related to automation, not PK's demand for more, more, more.
Well, the stress level, like you said earlier, it's different. The
Uh-huh.
stress changes from one stress to another stress, but automation, when you first get into it, it increases your stress level because
Mhm.
you're trying to figure out how to feed this thing and keep it going, ROIs, all of those things that you're trying to implement. But after you get it cruising and selling for a while, now your stress comes on getting more work to feed it. So but that's good. That's a good problem to have is keeping getting more work. So
Hmm. Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's the recipe for growth. And then you mentioned all of the learning that it unlocks professionally. I always say we connect learning to earning in this industry. You get more skills, you have a better career, and yeah, thank you for joining us. It's a perfect segue to the guy who signs all the checks, Mr. Shortess himself. So thanks, Forrest.
All right, shop owners, listen up here. I think all of us know we are in one of the most capital intensive businesses there is, and margins are tight, and we're always fighting issues. And then when we make money, what do we do with it? Stock market's up and down all over the place. Well, I get asked a lot about where can I invest my money? I'm a firm believer as business owners, you've got to invest in yourself first. You need to reinvest capital into yourself. So the number one thing that I've done in this industry investing was ProShop ERP. We've been using ProShop since 2018, and my payback literally was within weeks. With their per user based pricing, I knew when I made the decision, I only needed to save my workers roughly 1 hour per month. We saw within the first week, we were saving multiple hours per day. That type of ROI just doesn't come along very often. Outside of that, the real value is being able to quickly implement best practices across my entire shop from the time we get an order to the time we ship it, scaling my business with confidence, being able to go out and know that I can deliver on my promise to deliver quality parts to my customer, and then gaining insights into every job, employee, machine, and every process in our business to really drive efficiency and look for opportunities for improvement. That's where the real value in your business drives. So visit ProShopERP.com, book a demo, and start realizing ROI today. That's ProShopERP.com.
Look who we have here.
The man of the hour.
Yeah.
Scott, how are you?
great, guys. Really appreciate this opportunity.
No, this has been phenomenal. And so here's what I want to open with, okay? Usually our listeners, they want to know, KUKA robot, FASTEMS pallet system, right? What type of monitoring you're using. But my gut tells me that after this episode, they're going to want to know what manufacturing combine you use to find amazing people like this. Because, I mean, these guys are coming in and using words like feeding the beast, right? Ripping, rocking and rolling. We want
Yeah.
more, 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 more. And then on top of that, they're talking about brotherhood and family. And it's like those two just aren't usually used in the same sentence. So great to have you on. Super impressed with your team. And please introduce yourself for our listeners. And then again, yeah, if you want to release the name of that combine you use, I'm sure the industry wants to know.
Uh,
He's like, these are my draft picks. Stay away.
yeah, no, I'm a little scared. No, I'm extremely proud of my team, my organization, our family. Um, it's great to have brothers to go after these challenges in this industry, and can't do it without them. And told them that yesterday. I can't do this without you. And I've been trying to do it for a long time. So, and by the grace of God, we're here. So keep on going.
Man, that's so good. And that culture that you've created and established, just like, I don't know, it just puts you in a different mood. I mean, before you're around your team and then after you're around your team, you just leave with a different level of I don't know, like purpose and inspiration, and like, wow, look what this industry is capable of. It's really cool.
Well,
And you often see people who run shops like yours, and it's just a really, really high performing company, and then you meet the owner, the leader, and you're like, gosh, that guy's a workaholic. It's crazy. He probably never sleeps and probably never has time for family or anything outside of work. And with you, it's like the exact opposite. I just wanted to take this time to thank you for all the times you've checked up on like how my family's doing. And I mean, when we're texting, it's not about machines all the time or work or making chips. It's about like, hey, congrats on that announcement. Your daughter's coming and stuff like that. And I just think that's one of the things about this industry that we ought to talk about a little bit more is just this community and this big family that we all have in the metalworking nation. It's pretty cool. And
Well,
thank you for supporting that.
you bet. Well, I mean, what you guys are doing with the Making Chip family, a podcast. I mean, you guys are you, Mike, Paul, Eric, Dave. Um, that little subculture of really cool people. That do a lot of things for a lot of people in this world that they don't know about.
Man, that's cool. Thank
The
you. Thank you for
the
saying that.
creature comforts of an airplane. Of the house, your soul of on the bottom of your shoe. There was a machinist somewhere in that line. But when you're talking about culture, establishing that, I didn't establish it. My dad started the business in 1979 with $5,000 worth of inventory and a Ford Courier pickup truck that was made by Mazda. Uh, but I've just nurtured it and tried to make it better. And it was a gift to me. And you just try to make it better. And you can't do anything without good people. And Forrest, Randall, PK. I mean, man, they've got my six. They've got my six. And and it's really let me become a better leader, because one thing automation will do, it'll expose weak leadership. And I definitely was weak and had to go learn. So, but definitely culture. And I tell a story. Years ago, I went through a lean implementation course in 5 weeks and learning a lot of value stream mapping, point of use, SMED, all that stuff, and great tools. Love the Toyota production system story. But back to the chicken or the egg, did TPS come first, or where the tools come from? Well, it came from the culture, in my opinion. And the culture, we also say that execution will eat strategy for lunch every damn day. So you can strategize and you can whiteboard and PowerPoint, and my team rolls up their sleeves and cannonball in. And that's how you get successful in this business. And um, there's some really cool tools out there today. And this automation journey for me, really, I guess, I made a post on LinkedIn on my anniversary, 32 years with Advanced this January. And I had a paper that I kept from a 4,000 level management of innovation and technology class. And I wrote about advanced manufacturing technologies and robotics in 1994.
So cool.
And it took me a long damn time to get kind of what I was thinking back then. And
I mean,
my
when you were
buddy,
reading that, Scott, was it like Nostradamus? Like, oh, I predicted exactly how it was going to look? Or was it like, what the hell was I thinking? It's nothing like what I thought.
well,
Scott
hey,
Stradamus.
my
Nostradamus, yeah.
my my buddy Risto Nemi at FASTEMS, who really educated me and took this Okie um, around Europe benchmarking, and I always will thank him for sharing his knowledge with me. But he replied to that post and said, "Good thing you weren't wrong."
Yeah, exactly. That's so good.
No,
Man, you said something earlier, Scott, like me and Eric just kind of nodded our heads and like looked at each other through the camera, because every once in a while there's just like this great nugget of wisdom and you're like, yeah, you're going to get clipped, that's going to get clipped. And when you said,
Totally.
man, automation, what it will do is it'll expose weak leadership. And then you showed your humility and you're like, I was so weak. Like, I don't know what you were like. I just know what you are like, and you run a great company. But I want you to press on that a little bit. Like, how did implementing automation make you feel weak as a leader, and like where did it make you think, gosh, I got to get back to some of these tools and some of this lean culture?
And I hope the answer is, well, I just watched Pistol Pete pick up like a 600-pound fully fixtured pallet, and I'm like, I can't do that. Felt really weak. No.
Well, obviously there's a huge economic weight on your shoulder that you got to make sure and plan properly. And really, it was the unknown. Yeah, you can see it done, but you've heard all the auxiliary to support.
Mhm.
Um, and and I look around and chaos, frustration, um, and now we're going to throw this thing in here and try to be better. Back to culture. So I mean, a lot of brokenness that needed to get healed
Mhm.
before going forward. Obviously, there uh, a lot of personnel changes. Some people don't get the vision that I'm trying to do, and what
Mhm.
we're trying to do as a team at Advance with culture, and it it puts pressure on the leader for sure, because I know that back to your subculture and all the people that you've met through this. We all have hearts that
Mhm.
we got to balance our heart and our mind in making decisions in this business, because we care about people. And our customers are our friends, our vendors are our partners. And we gotta perform at a high level, especially in this area. So it
Man, I'm glad
I'm
you brought that
I'm
up
I'm
because like
always a weak leader. So get get
that
get
just
better
like shows
tomorrow.
the opposite though. I mean, the way you say that, all I get from that is the opposite. The
Yeah.
the humility. I mean,
That is why it
it,
must be you, Maximus.
yeah,
No.
exactly. No, but I mean, you talk about the people side, and not everybody sees the vision. Some people just are really obstinate. They dig their heels in. No, I'm not going to change. I'm not going to accept this like short-term increase in chaos to have a better future, a more globally competitive future. I mean, you talked about your guy from FASTEMS taking you over to Europe. I know when Eric and I go and visit some of our partners and customers over there, we come back and we're like, oh my gosh, like the way some of these shops are doing things. And then you look at what we're doing and you're like, oh my gosh, we're all weak. We are
Uh,
so weak compared to that.
Stuttgart to Dallas DFW. My first trip, benchmarking trip, was the most depressing flight home. I'm like, I've been
Yeah.
to IMTS for decades. Um, I've been in this business for 25 years. I'm getting my butt whipped. What am I doing wrong?
Hmm.
And that was really a 180 for me, and a really a defining point in my career for sure.
Yeah.
I always think about like people talk about overseas labor is cheap or this and that. Like, not in Germany, not in Switzerland, not in some of these places that we go. And I think that's kind of like the easy crutch excuse because we can't do anything about what they pay someone in on the other side of the world, and so we're like, yeah, they're so competitive because they have cheap labor. It's like not that's not the only reason. In fact, sometimes their labor is more expensive,
Correct.
and the whole employment aspect of running a business could be more difficult in Europe in many ways, and that's a whole nother episode. But when we look like you said that depressing trip home, when we look at how they're running, it's like they're taking labor out of the equation in a lot of cases, and they're amplifying. I don't even like the word labor. Like the human capital of their business is being amplified so much that it's not about like the hourly wage for a laborer. It's not about
Mm.
that. It's about like
No.
the whole equation.
We had a guest on recently, works for a medical manufacturer in Indiana, and after their automation implementation, she pointed out that like their wages went up like 3 to 5% because and people became more valuable. You know,
Mhm.
you stripped away this meaningless, repetitive nonsense that leaves all these doors open for misloads and, yeah, all these factors, right, that influence throughput. And now they're working, you know, on the business,
Yeah,
you know.
that one waste that doesn't always get published, underutilized people, you know?
Yeah, I think it's
Um,
the the biggest culprit out of all the forms of waste is you're not using your
yeah,
people
I
best.
mean, this is the power, and
Yeah.
Yeah.
when you can kinda get all the noise away from your team and let them think clearly, good things happen, and it's difficult to do on a daily basis for sure.
I don't
Um,
want to make Scott's section all about like Europe to the U.S. and I mean there's struggling shops all over Europe too. So and there's some incredible shops all over the states. But there is this parallel that popped into my head while we were talking. When you're driving on the autobahn and everyone thinks there's no speed limit, you think, oh, no speed limit. They probably have all these crazy accidents. And I see like no accidents when I'm over there, and I see people moving and just their overall I don't know, they're just like more efficient and more thoughtful with how they're driving. But you also see the roads like curving all the time and you see people flying down them. And I think you can draw a parallel to like when you're just driving straight and spacing out and you're kind of like not focused, you're not engaged mentally, that's when the mistakes happen. So in the shop when you're doing boring, repetitive, laborious like the work Eric always jokes about, the work that makes you mentally unhealthy and creates a psycho because he just does the same thing all day every day. Like that that's just like driving straight and then you get distracted, you end up on your phone. Next thing you know, you got yourself into an accident because your brain wasn't engaged. It's not because it was more difficult and that's why you crashed. It's because it was too easy and too boring.
well,
Uh,
we had an example, this week, or it may have been this weekend. You know, we've got a real hot project. It's really R&D-ish,
mhm.
and, Randall walked by, one of our young, top-notch go-getters, and he is like this, hand on e-stop, looking through the window, and, Randall noticed, "You okay?" "No, not really." "Not stable, predictable?" "No."
Yeah.
And
Body language.
You've got
and
you've
and
got this
and
oh crap button that you're 1 inch away from. That's not a good sign.
yeah, so, that's a go fix. That's a go
Yeah.
get better. And
Love
it's and
Randall just makes a mental note. I'm gonna circle back to this one. No.
it. So good.
yeah, but new part, new process, and that feedback loop. How fast can we get to green and go?
Mhm.
I love that.
In manufacturing, growth isn't accidental, it's engineered. But a lot of suppliers are still building their pipeline on outdated lists, inconsistent follow up, and hope based marketing, hoping their website will somehow bring in leads. Gabe Draper, the founder of Factor, knows that struggle. Years ago, he ran a shop that went bankrupt, not because of quality, but because he didn't have a steady way to generate new opportunities. That experience is what led him to build Factor. Factor helps suppliers create consistent sales opportunities by combining targeted outreach with marketing that puts you in front of the right buyers. Their team finds the right companies, starts real conversations, and sets qualified meetings. So if your pipeline swings with referrals or seasonality, Factor brings a system that puts you back in control. And for listeners of this show, Factor is offering a free custom report that highlights the best opportunities in your industry, plus a list of real companies that match what you do. Request yours at factormfg.com/chips. That's FACTURMFG.com/chips.
We talk a lot about like stability and making sure you have a trusted process. But when I think about risk and the risk you have to take as the business leader, Pistol Pete wasn't free. Those two big horizontals aren't free. Everything you invest in costs money, and so you're taking a really significant financial risk to do what you've done. And you've got a great team. I'm so glad we got to interview all of them. But walk us through your kind of like playbook financially, and how you justified it, and how you were feeling when it was like, all right, let's pull the trigger on this thing.
Yeah, speaking of your hand 1 inch from the "oh crap" button, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's that hand on that personal guarantee document that you wish you could take off.
Right. Yep.
I was trained by a very entrepreneurial person, my dad,
Hmm.
and, I remember when I very young in my career, um, my dad traveled to Florence, Kentucky, to a little nice machine tool manufacturer over there, and 2 days later, I get a phone call, "We bought a machine," and, that can be good, that can be dangerous, and, um
We bought you a new problem, Scott.
yes, exactly, exactly, and, uh, we laugh about it, but that's exactly where we were, customer pressure, get another spindle,
Hmm.
and then you just created another bunch of headaches because you're not running that one spindle optimally to, to do it, so, when we went through the process of really jumping out, and I think automation is a CNC machine, and it's just progressing, with it,
It is. Yeah.
Absolutely.
and and we have little faux cells, and really when PK, this was probably 15 years ago, we were taking a picture of the control and measuring utilization. That's how we started. PK would walk around each control every morning, ask the operator to pull up the production page. We had most Mazaks back then, and we liked the blue bar. And then he would take those, print those out, get a steel rule and a pencil, and start mapping it out. And we knew what our utilization was, and we're talking teens when we really use 8760 in our math calculation, which is what you should as an owner. I need an asset producing revenue. Why is it
Hmm.
sitting overnight not doing anything? And another beginning automation that we did, we had a second shift. Now our automation was people, but we had a second shift. We got to get
Yeah.
more hours. Got to get
Yeah.
more hours out of the equipment. When Risto first came to Advanced, he asked, "Do you know what your utilization is?" And we said, "Yeah, it's probably about 18%." He was like, "You're about the first shop that's ever came out with the right answer." And
Why
that's
it's usually inflated, like they think it's a lot
Oh,
higher than it is.
oh yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
Yep.
on scheduled hours. We look good on scheduled hours.
Yep.
However you score it, just start scoring it. It's bad. It sucks right out of the bat. Swallow it and get moving forward.
Yeah.
And but if PK wouldn't take the time to do that, um I mean that's really what started it, guys. That's really what started our
Oh
automation
man.
journey. I mean, I was writing about it back in 1994, still not knowing how to get all the puzzle pieces put together.
We were joking with Forrest, when he was talking about all the things Pistol Pete can do, and we were, joking with him about, and obviously you just flipped the switch one day and all that started, right? Um, from an ownership perspective, like how has this journey been? Have there been times where you were having bouts of impatience, or like just kind of curious how that looks from your perspective, and I
Eric,
mean,
Eric, Eric, that's a pretty powerful word you said. Patience in manufacturing. Is that okay? Can we use oxymoron in that?
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, patience. Goodness gracious. And I'm not a patient person. And my wife loves to fish because it was something that she did with her father, and I'll drive her to go fishing, and it's crappie season around here in Oklahoma, and that's the best eating fish. And but my fishing is, I'd like a half stick of dynamite or an electric generator and then net them up, But um,
Let's industrialize that.
yeah, um, uh, automation has taught me patience, and my team. Forrest, he always says, "I love your enthusiasm, Scott." So they kind of yank me back, or they're not gonna. They'll push me off course if they think that I'm off course. That's for damn sure. But they. I'm a very out there futuristic guy, which is a downside at times. And in learning myself, I need to align myself with tactical people, and I've got a good tactical team, and
Yes, you do.
we're able to. I'm able to have patience and trust because I have those relationships with those gentlemen and the rest of the organization, because it
it's
it
only a
isn't just them, and
well, it's only
they
a
know that.
downside, Scott, because it's only a downside when you're all wired the same way. When you're all like
Oh yeah,
6 months ahead and nobody's 6 minutes ahead.
yeah,
You know what I mean? And that's where I see so much of that in myself. I mean, Eric's probably like laughing too, because we've been having conversations lately about like, okay, well, what's Nick good at? What's Eric good at as we lead our team? And just trying to make sure you have the right people to like kind of balance that out when you're a future focused guy, and it might feel to others like you've got your head in the clouds and like, why are you thinking about that? We got a problem right here, right in front of us. We got to solve this right now. But I think,
Mhm.
I mean, like that self-awareness, that same self-awareness you just described with that, and then even when you were talking about like how you answered that first, what's your utilization question, and you were honest. It doesn't do leaders any good to, step on the scale and then take 30 pounds off because that's what they wish they were. you know,
Yeah, yeah. There's
let's be honest with where you're at, right?
I'll probably not do a good job explaining this, but the Stockdale paradox. I was given that many years ago, and Stockdale was, I believe, at one point in time the highest ranking POW at Hanoi Hilton, and being a POW, hard to be hopeful, but to face the reality of the situation, the brutal facts of where you're at right now. Do not sugarcoat it, but still have faith, hope, and love, and keep going forward. And I think in some of his writings, he would say, the POWs that, oh, we're going to get out on this Easter. There was always a calendar, those were typically the guys that didn't make it. So, one day at a time, steady Eddie, keep going, keep on trucking.
I love hearing that from you, because we heard that we opened this episode hearing like that same thing come through when Randall was talking. And so it's just, I mean, we talk about culture, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's so cool that you've got ownership using that language and the director of ops using that language. And I have no doubt that if I walked like into your tool room, right? Or walked up to the gentleman maybe swapping over coolant in the sump, right? That we would get that exact same context, which
Yeah,
is
the
amazing, Scott.
the
Truly
power.
amazing.
Thank you, thank you. I mean, the power of unity. I mean, wow. And obviously, we're blessed with good people, and it's nurture, feed it. And there's days where, I mean, we were having discussions this week, man, we're busy. We got a lot of new stuff. We got new implementation on software coming. CapEx plan going down. And you're like, oh, but we're able to kind of circle the troops and, okay, let's take a breath and what needs to happen right now, and this is where my head is. And we were in a meeting yesterday, and I was actually in the ground, or again, I was too far out and not thinking of all the steps that needed to get completed. And I'm like, my head's right here, guys. And well, mine's over here. So getting that back into that. All right, let's get back to the same space here real quick. So that's pretty cool.
One
And
thing
That's
that
awesome.
one thing I've been thinking about, just leading up to this episode, we've been talking about doing this for months, and I'm so elated that we're finally all in the same room
it's been
to
fun.
share your story. One thing I've been thinking about, because I know you, well enough that I kind of know the answer, but I just want our listeners to hear, right? When your team talks about things that automation is unlocked for them personally, and we hear company wide like 410s, so that's 3-day weekends, right, and 312s, and that's like you hear about all this time that's been unlocked for your team, your people, to like have this extra family time and friend time and faith time and whatever is important to them. I mean, what does that do for you, Scott?
I've done my job.
Oh,
Yeah.
Create that environment that, I had the conversation yesterday. I always wonder why the book of Job and job are spelt the same.
I love it. That's so good, man.
And because it's a means to an end. You're working to live or living to work. Yeah, we have fun, but it is not where we want to be.
yeah.
Whether that's fishing, hunting, family time, traveling, cooking, whatever, that other stuff that fills your bucket.
Mhm.
That's an amazing, and honestly, I don't know if I want to end on a different note this morning,
Yeah.
because that is, I think, the most beautiful owner's perspective I've ever heard in my life. You know,
It's fun seeing people succeed,
Mhm.
and you've had just a little bit of help with that.
Yeah, it's
amen
so
to
good,
that.
man.
I want to thank you and the whole team at Advanced Machine and Fabricating for joining us on the Lights Out podcast. Scott, where can people learn more about your company?
advcosinc.com.
That's great.
You'll be able to see Pistol Pete right on the front page.
I
Say hi.
love
It's a
it.
good
Say
it's a good
hello
place
to him.
for 'em.
So encourage everybody who listened here today to get over there and make sure you check out Pistol Pete and learn a little bit about what some of the great things they're doing at Advanced Machine and Fabricating. Scott, Randall, PK, Forrest, thank you so much for your time this morning. For those of you listening, make sure to give us a like, a subscribe, a share if you found today's episode helpful. If it moved you as much as it moved me, I'm not gonna lie. I got a little misty-eyed there when Scott said,
Allergies,
"It means I've
allergies.
done my job."
Yeah, no, exactly. I love what you said, Scott, when you talked about like that story of that POW and the faith, the hope, and the love. And my takeaway before we signed out is it's so clear that your team has a lot of faith in you. They've got a lot of hope for the future, and that they love what they're doing. And so, I mean, you've created an amazing culture, and it's just an honor to be able to tell your story and uh, honestly just be friends with you to kind of do this
Yeah.
thing together. So.
Anything I can do to help you guys, and specifically, we're working on a capex plan, and we might need to talk a little work holding, Eric, in the very very near future.
I got a guy
But
for that,
you
and that
do
guy is me. So
good.
That guy's me.
awesome. Well, God bless you, Scott, your whole team, company. Thank you so much for
Yeah,
your
thanks for
time, Nick.
joining, everybody.
You
Yeah,
bet. Have a great weekend, guys. Thanks for the opportunity.
let's
You guys
turn the
are great.
lights out on this week.